Good evening once again. It's our pleasure to bring you yet another incisive edition of the program, You and the Economy. My name is Chinemerem Joseph. In the last edition of the program, we flagged off the mini-series on the interventions of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, in the oil palm sector. You were told why the Apex Bank found it compelling to intervene in the sector and some of the measures it had already introduced to not only turn its fortunes around for the better, but also to restore its long-lost glory and often proclaimed relevance as one of the most formidable and dependable channels that Nigeria once relied on for generating foreign exchange earnings in quantum folds. In today's edition of the program, we continue with the focus on the interventions of the CBN in the oil palm sector, and we'll show you how the initiatives of the Apex Bank are set to restore the impressive fortunes and resounding fame that Nigeria once enjoyed from the performance of her oil palm sector, both from within and without. Here we go.
Need to maybe have, for instance, a national oil palm council whereby all role players are put together, and when we talk about a national oil palm council, they are the ones who regulate with the help of government, who will be part of the stakeholders there, to make sure that we work together and enjoy the whole pipeline's inputs in order to make sure that at the end of the day we can reach the goal of hopefully becoming a net exporter.
The research institute is very important because it's one thing to be able to cultivate, but we want improved seedlings. We want productivity to improve, so same hectare, but it's giving more yield, and then we can bridge that 1.2 million.
We have everything that we need to take back our lost glory. The NIFOR is there in Benin, Nigerian Institute for Oil Palm Research. It's there, it's a research institute, well manned by overqualified people, and they have all the equipment to take us to the next level. All they need is government intervention and funding. And for us as oil palm growers, we need to go back and organize ourselves to tap into NIFOR, to get back the knowledge, the experience that we need to put back in our farms.
The history of great landmarks in enhanced crop yield per hectare of land cultivated, resulting in exponential increase in harvested crops, usually have their origin firmly rooted in the work of some institutions. Such establishments usually have as their core mandates the conducting of vigorous research into the development, remodification, improvement, and general use of the seeds that bear the crops that these institutions conduct studies on. Here in Nigeria, the institution charged with the core responsibility of conducting research into, among other things, the promotion of remarkable increases in the output that farmers and agro-entrepreneurs can derive from cultivating oil palm is the Nigerian Institute for Oil Palm Research, NIFOR. Established in 1939, when it was named the West African Institute for Oil Palm Research, NIFOR is located on the outskirts of Benin City, capital of Edo State. As it is with almost all public institutions, NIFOR has its own fair share of perennial non-availability of adequate funding to discharge its core mandates efficiently. But notwithstanding the paucity of funds, the research institution has remained unrelenting in the discharge of its core mission of developing high-yield seeds and seedlings to boost output in the oil palm subsector. The significant role that NIFOR must play for the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to achieve the general objective of its intervention in the oil palm subsector was not lost on the Apex Bank. The CBN has therefore been collaborating with NIFO in the implementation of the various seeds/seedlings related measures put in place to galvanize the subsector. Knowing is the right thing to do, NIFO has been supportive of the implementation of the measures taken by the CBN in its intervention in the oil palm sector. The Research Institute has therefore ramped up its work in the development of high-yield oil palm seeds, an activity that the Institute said had always been ongoing even before the CBN's intervention and impressive promises that the Apex Bank's initiative holds for the improved funding of the Oil Palm Research Institution.
First major item in our improvement on the oil palm is to improve the productivity of the palm through provision of improved seeds. Now, if you have improved seeds, that will be the beginning of competitiveness and beginning of higher yield, higher production. So in this case, we have researched ever since that time, and we have been producing seedlings seeds of very high quality. The CBN wants to diffuse more of the seeds that we produce to the hands of farmers, so that farmers can produce will have higher production, better production of what they do, rather than depending on land seeds and seeds of unselected seeds which are not genetically improved. In our case, we have genetically improved the seeds are there, and today we know the seeds that we have under Nigerian condition, even under very poor management practices, can yield for you anything between 20 to 30 metric tons of fruits.
Since I bought the seed from NIFO, I'll be getting more bunches. Like in each palm, when it is a peak period, I'll get at least 25 bunches in each palm. So when I process that, it gives me more increase in oil, and also I'll make more money from it.
NIFO's seeds and seedlings, which are the palms that sprout in polythene bags after the Institute's high-yield seeds are planted and nursed, are tailor-made for the success of the CBN intervention in the oil palm subsector. For they are produced through the acclaimed procedure of cross-pollination, which is in line with global best practices in oil palm production and guarantees high-yield seeds. A highly technical and expensive process, cross-pollination produces a unique brand of high-yield seeds known as hybrid Tenera variety. This high-performing variety is a product of mating of female palm that is highly prolific in breeding and producing seeds, with a male palm rich in high-quality pollens. Through preliminary investigations, the female palm would have been certified as one capable of yielding a large number of bunches of oil palm fruits. The oil palm bunches produced by the said female palm must also be known to be comparatively heavier in weight than the normal, implying that they are more endowed with palm oil and thus have high oil-to-fruit yield potential. The female palm identified for the procedure must also be proven to produce a much larger number of oil palm fruits. Similarly, male palm to be used for this controlled pollination is also specially selected to be sure it is richly endowed in pollens. Its pollens are subsequently used to fertilize the female palm, which will then bear the fruits from which the hybrid Tenera variety seeds will be obtained. The ultimate goal of cross-pollination is to have hybrid palms that produce a lot of palm oil.
the research institutes and the seed production companies that ordinarily should do that cross-pollination. Then after that, by the time you give the seed to the farmer, you don't need to cross-pollination. Not everybody can do that because you have to have your mother palms, which you have selected over a long period of study, and also have to selected male palms, which produces the pollen. The industry, as I said, has been impacted a lot by the fact that what we produce is Tenera variety, and Tenera variety is derived from cross-pollination process.
Yet another way by which the goal of the CBN intervention in the oil palm subsector can be achieved is by nursing high-yield seeds into seedlings, that is, infant palms planted in soil. These are subsequently purchased by off-takers who subsequently plant the seedlings in their oil palm farms and plantations. The more the number of seedlings that can be raised through this process, the higher the chances of translating the CBN intervention in the oil palm subsector into a thrilling success story. However, running nurseries is often hobbled by two critical challenges. One is the shortage of agronomists that are required to run them professionally, especially as agronomy is a highly specialized field of agriculture. The second worry is the problems associated with acquiring land to run expansive plant nurseries that can truly help boost output. But lack of nurseries will not pose a problem to the attainment of the objectives of the intervention of the CBN in the oil palm subsector. For yet another platform through which NIFER has been boosting output in oil palm production is its nursery management program, through which it nurses high-yield seeds into nursery seedlings, which are subsequently sold off to off-takers. Thereafter, these plants are moved from NIFER by the buyers to their farms and plantations for transplanting. What is more, NIFER has put an arrangement in place to ensure that its seedlings are distributed across the oil palm belt in Nigeria in a manner that will make them easily accessible to oil palm farmers and major corporate bodies who own oil palm plantations. The NIFER Nursery Management Program is thus promoting the success of the intervention of the CBN in the oil palm sector in a resounding way.
Not every farmer will have the capacity to raise his own nurseries, so they have to come to depend on us for seedlings. But also we produce seedlings across our various stations. Our main station, which is in Benin City, and our experimental stations, which are in different parts of the country. Seedlings we are talking about now yield highly. Now we project that at maturity they will yield between 25 and 30 metric tons of fresh fruit. And that, if you translate that to oil, it depends on your extraction rates. So if we use a base extraction rate of say 20% as maybe a best practice, so from 25 tons of fruit, you are getting about 5 tons of oil if you use 20%. But most times people don't achieve 20%. So even if we use a very base minimum of 15% or 10%, you are talking about between 2.5 and 4 tons of oil. So that is what we are trying to do in our case.
Now we have access to improved seedlings from NIFER. So our members do not have to buy adulterated seedlings that we used to back in the past. The new improved Tenera seedling produced by NIFER can give you 1,000% more than what the local one can give you. And it can last you for 30-35 years. For instance, if you plant the seedling from NIFER, the Tenera seedling from NIFER, you are guaranteed huge harvest every year, between 8 tons to 36 tons, depending on the age of the tree.
We're preparing ahead against next year. So for every seedling initiative we take it against the following year, against the next planting season. And so far this year, we program on our own to do between 500,000 seedlings and 1 million seedlings. But we are also going into partnership with a group called OP Nurseries. It's agri nurseries, and they want to work with organ to provide organ seedlings. So we are working with them to provide more seedlings across the urban belt. So farmers don't have to travel all the way from across river to Benin City to collect seedlings, or from Ogun State to Benin City to collect seedlings. So open nursery will have its nurseries across the belt, but what they then do is they just buy seeds from us, pay for seeds from us, and then we also help to supervise the work they do, and then the seedlings become available to farmers. So apart from increasing the area under oil palm, they are also increasing the area under younger palms by the planting process, which some of them are already doing. So that's the immediate impact.
The important roles played by the corporate bodies operating in the oil palm subsector in developing the subsector and boosting output cannot really be overemphasized. For those roles are very significant. This is especially so in the areas of modernizing extraction processes and generating employment for skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled labor. Nonetheless, most interest groups in the sector believe that the big players cannot on their own alone drive the success of the resolve of the CBN to raise output to 2.5 million metric tons by 2026. This notion is informed by available records which show that smallholder farmers constitute about 70%, actually, if not 80%, of the total number of players in the subsector. And the reality of these overwhelming figures, that is 70% or 80% of the total subsector players, and the relevance naturally earned by such a huge constituent, underscores the significant roles smallholder farmers are positioned to play in turning around the fortunes of the subsector. It also surely explains why some stakeholders have sought to further strengthen the wind of positive change stoked by the CBN to make the oil palm subsector regain its lost glory by empowering these farmers to embrace new methods of cultivating oil palm trees so that output can increase in quantum folds. One stakeholder that is playing a key role in this regard is the Oil Palm Growers Association of Nigeria, OPGAN. Towards this end, OPGAN set up a secretariat at NIFO where it coordinates the running of training programs for smallholder farmers. Chief Michael Aborime is the acting chairman, Edo State chapter of OPGAN.
I have benefited so much. One, we have now known the harvesting cycle. We have been able to train us to know when to harvest and when not to harvest. Then we are now able to differentiate on when to mill and when not to mill. For instance, the last training program, or second one, but the last training program, we are told that the FFA has to be low. And in doing this, you must mill within 24 to 48 hours of harvest. And a lot of our farmers have embraced this. So we've learned how to maintain the palms, because like one of the instructors or one of the teachers was telling us, if you have a baby and you feed the baby well and at the right time, the baby grows well. And that they have told us when to fertilize, when to prune, when to slash the feed, and when to harvest. And it has been wonderful.
What I've gained from such lecture is that I've learned how to intercrop. Yes, after planting, I might intercrop with these cereal crops that I will harvest within the period of 1 year. And that when I sell them, that I will make more money from it. Then I use it to maintain my palms. It taught us how to buy a good quality seed from NIFO. Then after that, how to maintain our feeds, like pruning of the palms so that you can get more bunch setting, and also knowing when to apply fertilizer. And also after harvest, we should not allow the fruits to stay more than 24 hours so that after processing we can get good quality oil.
Nigerian Institute for Oil Palm Research in Benin have been so supportive too, because that's where we go for our trainings, that's where we go and get our improved seedlings. That's made a whole difference.
Our members have been trained by NIFOR across the country on development of nursery. The man seated there at developed nursery of 350,000 in 1 year is now transplanted. He's the national secretary of this association. So we have been trained on nursery development. All we need is a seed to develop nursery and share to households.
They are getting better organized now through what they call OPGAN. OPGAN is the Oil Palm Growers Association of Nigeria. In fact, they have a secretariat right here in the institute here now. And the secretariat is to help them indent seeds for their farmers and organize them so that they're able to benefit from our training, benefit from our facilities, and also benefit from direct access to seeds, so they don't have those bottlenecks they used to have in accessing seeds.
By the time everybody is on board, we will triple our production and we take back our position in the global market, because we have all the resources, we have the land, we have the manpower, we have the funding, we have the research institute. Today, we are moving forward. We are no longer where we used to be. And this CBN intervention is the best thing that has happened to this country.
It is heartwarming that in its intervention to revamp the oil palm sector, the CBN has not been left to paddle its canoe alone. It is thus not a victim of the on-your-own syndrome, whereby the principal party behind an initiative is left to bear its cross alone. As highlighted in this episode of the program, other stakeholders are actively collaborating with the CBN and keying into its intervention in the oil palm subsector to further drive its success. But is the core objective of the CBN, to wit, to raise output to 2.5 million metric tons by 2026 and subsequently place a total ban on the importation of palm oil achievable? And if the answer is in the affirmative, what are the key issues that must be addressed before that goal can be achieved? And is the intervention capable of generating the much desired employment opportunities expected from it? These and other salient issues will be addressed in the next episode of the program.
Welcome back. Although the gestation period in bringing newly planted oil palm trees to maturity is relatively long, it is obvious that the measures already taken by the CBN to revitalize the oil palm sector have taken firm root, and their impacts are already beginning to manifest. In fact, the numerous nursery plantations of oil palm stakeholders springing up in the oil palm belt of the country offer tremendous hopes that all shall soon be well with this sector. The package of a very attractive financial incentives being provided by the CBN without relent to strengthen the sector within the past 3 years are also beginning to register resounding impacts. These are in the areas of increased investments, a relative uptick in outputs, as well as improvements in employment generation in the sector. Please make it a date with us again on You and the Economy next week, when we shall wrap up the mini-series on the interventions of the CBN in the oil palm sector. Until then, it's goodbye for now.